to it last. You go through all the pain and strife, then you turn your back and they're gone so fast. Oh yeah, and they're gone so fast. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so hold on to the ones that really care. In the end, they'll be the only ones there. When you get out of start losing your hair, can you tell me who will still care? Yeah. Can you tell me who will still care? Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, bop, but you put down by two, bop, but tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Yeah. Oh, bop, but you put down by two, bop, but tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Yeah. Saying, oh, yeah, I'm about to go. Plant a seed, plant a flower, plant a rose. You can plant any one of those. Keep planting to find out which one grows. It's a secret no one knows. It's a secret no one knows. Oh, no. Oh, bop, but you put down by two, bop, and tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Oh, bop, but you put down by two, bop, and tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Yeah, we're in about to go, in about the night day, in about to go, in about the night day. Until you lose your hair, you don't know her, don't know her. Oh, bop, I do bop, dip it up, I do bop, yeah, I do, yeah. Oh, bop, ooh, yeah, do bop, do bop, do. Oh, bop, I do it up by two, bop, but tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Oh, bop, but you put down by two, bop, but tell me I'm by two, bop, but you put down by two. Oh, bop.
Good morning, everyone. We have a chatty room today, which is good. Hi to everyone in person. Hi to everyone on Zoom. Let's get going with the
Let's
first
do
meeting
it.
of June.
Let's jump in.
So right after this, today is our first book club for Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow, written by Andrew Anderson, who has presented to us, and he's going to be even jumping in on some of the book clubs throughout the series. It's a book about reflection, finding courage and compassion in a turbulent world. So if you have not signed up but are interested, we still have a couple more copies of autographed books. So if you're interested, it's going to be right after this meeting, 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. And we're going to go through the book pretty quickly just to keep the energy up and so it doesn't drag on too long. So
And it is a #1 international bestseller.
yes. So those of you today, you should have read through page 45. If you didn't, that's okay. You can still come and
We'll catch up.
we'll catch up or have a good conversation. So right after this,
The conversation
It's not
should be really good.
difficult reading.
Yeah,
No,
the
it's
conversation
easy
should be really
reading.
good. Yeah, it's easy.
it's a lot and it's like very much on like
It's like in 12
inner, yeah. Oh, wow, really like inner, I don't know,
Yeah.
deep thoughts about yourself.
Yeah, that's great.
It's reflection, a lot of
Absolutely.
reflection. Okay, then on Wednesday, we have a really good CE class. So this class, Tim Young, he came in and presented to us on zoning, and his entire job is the builder services with lawyer's title. And he was so good that we specifically wanted him back. He answered a ton of questions for people after the class. And so he has a new updated class on the middle housing bills, and how they're actually being implemented in the different cities. And, you know, we trying to be kind of cheeky up here, but why is my neighbor building a fourplex next to me? But right, like you need to understand the regulations and the bills and how they are working in different cities, right? At least on the basic level for your clients. Yes.
This is the single most influential legislation passed since a momentary passing of like Measure 47.
Mm-hmm.
This changes the game for everybody, and it's being implemented now. And this guy's fantastic. He's a great presenter. He has actual, like, he's not just somebody who sits in an office all day pulling reports for builders. He's like a developer. He has a lot of insight into this topic. And I'm excited to hear what he has to say, because the municipalities have been rolling out their versions of this, because each municipality kind of gets their own twist on it and within their own building code. And then there's the builders come through and they interpret it, and then they start building. And so, like, we're getting to a point where this is a thing now. And if you don't know what's going on, like, you could be left in the dust. Like, this is
And I guess
really
this is a newly updated presentation with all the
Yeah.
most current info for
Yep.
the different cities. So this is a great class. There is a registration link on our website and calendar. So if you
Right.
could register, just so we have a count for food, but even if you don't register and you have some time clears up on your calendar. come
Yeah, I
on.
mean, the reason why this heading makes sense to me is, we have a lot across the street from us where we live, and it's been vacant since our house was built. And I pulled the plat on it, and it looks to me like it's big enough to build 4 units under the new code. And so my wife and I are like, okay, suddenly we go from a rural neighborhood where everyone parks in their own driveways to a neighborhood where those users and their guests will all be parking on the street,
Mhm.
right? So we'll
And
start
it's
to
not a
feel
wide
like
street.
downtown Portland
Yeah.
overnight, like as quickly as they can build something and then put people in the units.
Mhm.
And so that's making me nervous. And I know I've had conversations with a few other people that are worried about the same thing. So we never knew exactly how this was going to unfold. We had the conversations when they were developing the code. Now the code's finalized.
Mhm.
And, Tina Kotek is absolutely committed to delivering affordable housing in Oregon, because she sees that as one of the biggest issues facing Oregon, right? And that's why more people aren't moving in. That's why people aren't staying. So this is the solution, to do it within the core of the city. And I think they're going to make it happen one way or another. They might have to lax the code to do it, which would probably anger a lot of the neighbors in the neighborhoods. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And it makes me think about a transaction I had a while back where someone was showing the home, and they told the people behind, it was a lot, beautiful trees, looked like a park. And then somebody showed the home and said, it was my listing, said, oh, well, that'll never be built on. Well, now I've taken it to the next level. What if it's a fourplex that showed up, and
Yeah.
you were the one that had the listing, and you were the one that told the buyers, oh, that'll never be built on, and then it's a fourplex 3 years later.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
anyway, it's gonna start to happen. We're gonna hear more and more about it as soon as, the rates come down and more
Yeah,
builders get back going again, looking for opportunity.
Yep.
but yeah, go ahead.
You're absolutely correct, because the new building code does not require parking
No.
with these new residences.
Mhm.
That's right.
And in fact, they're enticed to take out existing parking to replace with hybrid and charging stations, which also allows them more building units.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
in that code. So.
Well, if you're on a cul-de-sac, imagine what happens to everybody on a cul-de-sac. 4 new units are added on a cul-de-sac.
Without parking,
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 cars a unit.
without parking.
But Tim is a great presenter. He's really knowledgeable. Like Kelly said, he's out doing it, right? Like, he had a lineup after his last class that he taught here of people just wanting to ask him questions
Yeah.
about things. So hope to see lots of you here tomorrow for that. And then Austin's teaching his tech workshop tomorrow afternoon. This is a good topic, Austin.
Yes, so designs, a lot of what we've been, I'm like, I feel like I'm out
We
of the,
can't see you all, but-
I know. But a lot of what we've been, still on your lap, of what we've been talking about in commands is, you're gonna move it, there we go. Has been kind of leading up to this, right? Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff, whether it's the smart plans or campaigns, comes down to creating the designs. And so designs itself has incremental updates here to make it more stable, make it more user friendly, add more features. And so we're going to go over a lot of that and how to just especially set that all up, because there's a lot of things that can really save you a ton of time in every design afterwards. So once you set up your assets and your branding, it's as easy as just drag and drop into the placeholders and you have your designs ready to go.
And if you haven't looked at designs lately, there are 1,400 different design templates in there, and they're constantly updating them based on, holidays, or like if there's new global markets, different things like that. There's like, giant listing presentations and buyer presentations that you can just take the pages you want out of.
Magazines, which.
Yeah, the magazines. I mean, so that's,
Magazines they've been doing for a few years, and like, it's, if there's a summer magazine or a spring or fall magazine, there's a lot of good content in there. Even if you don't necessarily use the magazine, using the content, the article.
right. to
Like, and it's universal. I mean, summer is summer every year, right? So if you did not use it for the last couple of years, you have a lot of content to use. So,
Mhm.
things like that they're really cool.
Yeah, there's lots of good content in there, especially even like social media. I know, like Sydney uses a lot of the templates even for our office social media,
Mhm.
because there's really good ones in there.
Yeah, come on in.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Austin.
sounds good.
Ooh, and then we have a big hitter on Thursday. Dwight's wealth building class is back. So this is all about building wealth through your personal investment properties as a realtor, right? There's different tax incentives, different tricks. Dwight's gonna teach them all in a 4-part series. This is part 1.
This is part 1. So coincidentally, the region told us that they surveyed the megas in the region, and the megas said the number one thing they wanted to know about was wealth building. This was earlier in the year that Bruce Hardy announced that. And today, I'm starting this up again. So we've been teaching it here for 3 years.
Mhm.
3 years. And this is wealth building from the perspective of a realtor. There's some really neat tax advantages that we get as realtors in our own industry to be able to offset our income by owning real estate. That's the key to the whole thing. And most people don't know about it because it's not anything that's ever talked about. So this is a really simplified approach to how you own real estate. So you have a luxury retirement, basically, for the things you want.
I love it.
Maybe I'll if agents from other brokerages attend.
Absolutely. I'm
Oh,
all
yes.
about teaching this to anybody that will come.
Fantastic.
So you can bring kids, you can bring people in other businesses. and,
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
Open it up.
Awesome.
good question. All right, so and you don't have to sign up, you just show up here in person only for that. And then we're having Randy come back to do a set of complimentary headshots for anyone who wants to sign up, just so we can kind of get a refreshed look. It's summer. Some of us have been using our headshots for a lot of years. But
Just look at me.
yeah, Kelly, yeah, you need a fresh up
I do
one.
need a freshen up.
You do too, actually.
I like mine.
I know.
That's me, isn't it?
Yeah,
It looks
I
like you.
still don't have any hair, so.
I didn't have any hair in my photo either.
I know, I guess.
But
you guys
it's
have
a
the
little
same
bit-
hair-
A little
same
bit.
haircut.
Yeah.
If you want to sign up, Austin, there's a sign up sheet with what, like 5 or 10-minute increments?
10-minute increments, it's on our website in the calendar. It's a sign up genius. It's not a registration link. So you sign up for a specific time, between 10 and 1. And last time when we had Randy over here, we kind of changed how we did the photography. There was a lot of feedback on people, like when they got their photos back, they didn't like any of them. It was, like, oh, okay. So we changed it where she takes the photos right there, she gives you the raw footage on a laptop, and you're able to pick and choose which two you want her to edit and kind of spruce up. So
And it helps her with the time.
it helps with time, make sure you got the photos that you want, and it got a lot of good feedback. I think everyone liked the photos that they showed. So-
Right, so that's why we increased the slots to 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes. So sign up for a spot, just to kind of,
Not for outfit changes.
no, I mean, if you're speedy, you could do an outfit change. But they'll be in this room. I think she usually likes the natural light. She'll have backgrounds and stuff. So she said she got some new backgrounds.
Basically naturally limited.
Oh, yes.
3 hours, so there's 18 spots. And as they fill up, perhaps we'll extend it if she has the availability, but
Yeah, if she has the availability and there's enough interest,
it's not guaranteed. So
yeah, not guaranteed. And again, we do pay for those for you. So hopefully, you would want, like, don't waste it, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yes.
It's complimentary because we pay for it. So, but it's a great time, especially like newer agents, or if you haven't updated your headshot in a long time, to get a fresh look. Okay. Oh, and then I have to plug the Women's Council of Realtors is having a golf tournament, 9 holes. Rochelle here is doing a lot to plan it in this room. And there are still spots open to play. So if you're interested in playing, scan that and sign up for, you can sign up as an individual or a foursome. So it should be good. We'll be there. Dwight and Kelly, we're gonna have a Keller Williams Portland Premier hole. They're gonna be working the hall.
You're working that hole.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I know some people from our office have signed up already, like Stacy and Kevin signed up for a team. I know Marcella asked me about it, so it should be really fun. So hopefully, you guys, and it's only 9 holes, so it's half the day, not the whole
And
day.
you get breakfast.
Get
lunch.
Breakfast and lunch, yeah, and you can be a man also or anything. It's all about it's not just for women.
Mhm.
You can be a man.
It's a
You
Friday.
can be a man to participate,
And since it's 9 holes, it should be done around 12.
or they, yes.
Did you talk to Gordon? You know, Gordon is managing this golf course, right? Cool. Yeah, good.
Yes. Gordon Tolbert from Amerispec, everyone.
Patrick's dad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next up. If you have any questions, reach out about that. And then Austin has made the new June newsletter in command.
Okay. So, I mean, it was on the news, it was on the weekly newsletter this last week, and I put a social media post out because, I mean, it's June 6th, so hopefully, you know, kind of getting into the middle of June, you're like, do I need a June newsletter like right now? You know, kind of-
Yeah.
but no, it's still a good time. Yeah. But like, so that's why I do want to mention it. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you just follow these steps, log into command, clicking on smart plans, searching for hashtag KWPP, add it to your library. And then from there, just add people from the smart plan or into the smart plan, and it instantly starts and then instantly removes them once the email's sent. So it's very easy, very quick
And Austin
and ready made.
personally created these. It's
Yeah.
not like KW national
Yeah.
content. It's like local.
Yep, with pictures and everything.
Content.
And you're welcome to edit it. It is completely, once you download it, it's completely yours and editable to add your own flair if you need to. So
Can we
and
use it even if we're not using command for our delivery?
not
We don't need
necessarily,
content.
it is through command. You can use the content. Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to copy and paste it out, you're welcome to. I don't feel offended at all about that.
Okay.
So you're welcome to use it for other things if you need to. But yeah, so I mean, but it is, if it was an email, you would have to
Yeah.
copy and paste it into a new email, but because it is through command. But yeah, if you have any questions or need help with it, let me know.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Austin. And then look at all these June birthdays. There's so many. Where do we even start? We'll go with today. Michael Brazzi from Garrett Bortles team is today. So happy birthday to him today. But happy birthday to all of our June birthdays. Mark, you're in the room. Who else isn't?
Look at the 11th, all those people.
I know that was like,
It's a big day.
yeah, Cecilia, Pam, and Zach. Yeah, there's a lot of birthdays in June. So happy birthday to all the June birthdays. If you see any of these folks, wish them a happy birthday.
Mark,
Mark.
Yep.
happy birthday, Mark. Ahead of time.
Now, yes, Rochelle,
Rochelle, happy birthday.
25th,
Ahead of time.
ahead of time, yes. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about what's going on. So every week, RMLS has these cute little graphics that you can use, you can take the data from, but you should at least look at, right? And it's a nice comparison of just like snapshot, what's going on in RMLS for the week. So, and it's always the previous week. So last week, new listings were up 9.4% from the week before, which is great. And time on market's going down. So it's signs that the market is picking up, average sales price is going up. Closed sales price or closed sales is up 23%. So if things are really picking up, right? So if you're starting to feel like, wow, business is really picking up, it is, right? So I just wanted to share this graphic because it does show like a good little snapshot of all of our MLS. Yes, Mark.
Like put a big asterisk down in the bottom. This is across all the RMLS markets across the entire state. When you're sharing this, we did not add 1,324 new listings in the Portland RMLS last week. We added 624. This is across the entire state. So it's actually a bit misleading. This is not reflect the Portland market. Because if you happen to go down to Eugene, they didn't add 1,324. That's the downside of this, is it's a great snapshot, except this is across all, as it says, covering all areas tracked by RMLS. So this does not apply to the Portland market. That's the statistician in me speaking.
I don't know if I would say it doesn't apply, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Accurate Represent. That said, it starts a great conversation. Wow, 1,300 new listings. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean, who would take their
indicative of-
idea on that? I looked at the 9.4%.
Right.
Whoa, that's a huge increase in a very short period of time, right? And I also looked at the average and the median, which are very aligned. That's not that common. They're exactly the same. And so all those people last year that dropped out of the market that said rates are going up and I know prices are going to come down, and so I'm just going to sit tight, or in for a big surprise, right? Because now they're
Mhm.
1 year into their lives and prices are higher than they were.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So all those people that did that, this would be great. This is great information to be able to reach out to clients that didn't buy homes last year. Anyone you know that was looking, that gave up, say, hey, just want you to know, you should have bought.
Right, and a lot, since, this is the first week in a while, the numbers are looking better than they were. There is, and there's the market action report that drills down into Portland, but that only comes out once a month. So sometimes right now in the market, that's just a little behind. It should come out any day now, actually, for the new one. It's not out yet. But another good resource from RMLS, if you're not looking at it, they email them to you, and then you can always just pull them down at the bottom of RMLS. So just wanted to give some snapshots of some different information, and then let's look. Yeah.
I want to put you on the spot, and I hope I'm not. But would you ever consider doing something like this, maybe not the exact same statistics for our office?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many closings we have, how many listings we have?
Yeah, we've done them. We do them a lot, like if it's like mid-year, or quarterly. First quarter wasn't like our best to write home about, so that's why we didn't do that. But yes, we'll do like a mid-year one, because you guys have picked up a ton. Like last month, we were hoping the Keller Williams reports are a little bit delayed. We were hoping the reporting would actually be out by today to go through our numbers. We'll go through that next week, but last month picked up a ton for you guys, so it's really exciting to see the momentum. But yes, absolutely.
We get what they call the multi-year trends from KW every month. They have all the statistics about
Mhm.
what's happening for our market center for the last 10 years,
Mhm.
and it's available to anyone in the market center.
Mm.
We thought we'd have it for today.
But
So
also,
you can see it. Our first quarter wasn't very good, but guess what? We compared ourselves to other companies in the region.
Yeah.
We were in the top
like,
15%.
yeah.
Basic, yes, how are
Mhm.
we competing against maybe other companies?
Mhm.
Or other things?
Yeah,
Just to get a little fire.
totally. Also the stats, like number of listings and things like that, Sydney writes them on the whiteboard out in the hallway by the copier. So they're about a month behind, just because that's kind of how the Keller Williams reporting goes through at the end of the month. So she'll update them here probably tomorrow, but that gives a shot of like how many listings, like sales volume, things like that. So not putting me on the spot at all. I'm gonna actually write that down to do. Okay, how many of you guys know or use our TMO report, total market overview reports? Laura, yes, we used to talk about them a lot more. We haven't in a while, so we're gonna show. Actually, yeah, show everyone where they are now, because it's not the same place as they always have been.
Okay, so yeah, so when you go to our KWP agents sites, the first thing you're gonna do is go up to resources right here. And you click on resources, it's gonna give you a lot of options here. You're just gonna scroll down until you see total market overviews, and it's under the giving you more value section. You just click anywhere on here and it's gonna pull up, and every Monday, Robbie will send us the TMOs, either Steph or I will upload them and add a new button. So for June 5th, all you gotta do is click on it and it's gonna download the full zip file of every single area of Portland, and you got access to them.
And it breaks, so this report comes out weekly, and it breaks out by RMLS area numbers. So like area number 147 is like Lake Oswego, West Lynn. Area 151 is like Tiger, Tualatin, Sherwood, Wilsonville. We're going to show you those for comparison. And then it also breaks it out single family residents versus condos as separate reports. So there's all kinds of reports you can drill down there. So click on one of them. Oh, nice. So that one's good, whatever. Okay, that one's good. So we have the Altos reports, which we talk about a lot, right? We show you guys a lot. And then this is just another report that we pay for every month to have these for you guys. And I just felt like we probably haven't done a good job of explaining them and walking through them. Because if you are not a numbers or data person, this can make you panic, right? But it's really good data. So on the left-hand side in the red, it breaks out by price point, and it goes in like much smaller increments than just the quadrants of the Altos report. And it shows you the number of active listings at each price point, the number of pending listings, and then the ratios of those. And then it goes into the pricing. So the list price and the sale price, and then the list to sales ratio, which is another really good number. Third from the right, that column is the ratio, right, at each individual level. And then the last two columns are days on market for solds and actives. So at a first glance, it can be like a little daunting just because it's a lot of data, but it is really, really great information to use in both your buyer presentations or listing presentations. And it's really easy just to like print out. I know one time someone from the Fox team said that none of them even go to an appointment without the TMO. They're printed out every time.
Can you zoom in on that just a little more?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll
Oh,
zoom in.
Zoom in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what I find people what I find really interesting though is like, so these are zeros, right? But like if you scroll down a little bit here, right? So you got 20. Okay, so the numbers are starting to be, relevant. So you've got 100. The average sales price is just over 100%, like, and then it starts dropping, and then it's about the same, keep going down. But like, if you're trying to find like a pocket to price a home, like this might actually help you out a bit. Like if you're teetering between like $25,000 increment, like if it's, let's say here, so if you have a house, you're trying to decide if you want to list it at 14999 or 15, right? I think you want to go 1499 because 98%, those are selling at 98% of their price. So that's kind of how one of the ways I would use this. But I think it's really telling to like get into the weeds a little bit, get in tight with these numbers and understand what you're looking at. I think it's great.
Mhm. Yeah, so for pricing or for listings, it can be great for pricing. For buyers, it can be great because you can set the right expectations, right? Of speed that they're going to need to write an offer. Because the second to right column is the time on market of solds. So, and that includes from when it was pending too. So some of those are really fast, 15, 23.
Like if you have a
36.
buyer like working in this price point, are you gonna show them houses that go up to the top of their price point? Because they're probably gonna sell for more, right? So you probably want to cushion it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So it really helps set expectations. And okay, so this was like Oswego. Actually, scroll down to the very bottom. Oh, there it is. So if you look right now, over 2 million, there's 65 houses on the market. And so there's a lot more inventory.
Stacking up.
Right,
Stacking up.
stacking up a lot more
Mhm.
than if you priced it $199.99.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, want to pull up?
For setting sellers expectations, because again, the crossover between 1.4999 versus 1.5, for all the days on market 36 versus 49. Well, if we price at 1.4 versus 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Price at 1.4, if current, right now, you 35, you've got shorter number of days, fewer days on market. If you go the higher price, right now, the numbers say it's gonna take a longer time to sell.
Yeah.
We may be wrong, but right now, that's what your competition is looking at across 99 properties across that entire $1 million spectrum. So we can price higher, but expect a longer sale. If that's what you want, we can do that.
Does anyone else in here use the TMO reports? Laura, do you use them in?
I do,
That's fine.
and I use them for both single family and for condos. I find them really quite helpful for condos. Because condos are in those smaller price points and I don't know, it's just another data point to share with
Mhm.
people. Wow, there's only 3 homes on the market in that price range, but still they're taking 31 days to sell, so. You
Yeah.
want the option back and you want that 101% over asking price and price it a little bit below the market, you might get it.
And yeah, and you brought up a really good point of by breaking out the condos, it is very helpful for condo sales in the different segregations. So we just wanted to kind of point these out. If you need help being able to talk through any of the numbers, ask any of us. Do you want to add anything else on the TMOs?
Nope, that's good.
And they're a good complement to the Altos, right? They both kind of show different things. So it's not like one replaces the other necessarily. Okay, let's talk about some more stats about what's going on. Speaking of our specific areas, right? So this is RMLS, April versus May in these two specific areas. And so the total properties represents total properties sold. So this is kind of just to illustrate that from April to May, things are increasing, right? A lot of brokerages and agents had a slower start to the year. But closed sales in May was up from April. So that means activity from April was up from March. The average sales prices stayed around the same and the median price point stayed around the same, right? So really just an increase in property. And Area 151 also includes like Sherwood and stuff too. Kelly, you want to add anything on that one?
Well, yeah, Dwight told you so. So we were talking about this in February,
Mhm.
about how sales would start ramping up from April to May, and sure enough, he's right. That's all. Dwight was right.
Did he pay
Well,
you?
we were looking at
That's
Altos
good.
reports, I think, when we did that, right? We were
I-
talking about how to read the graphs.
Yeah, we were talking about the historical trends, and we're
Right.
back to
Right, that
seasonal.
every April, May, or that's when it starts. to
Yeah,
Yeah,
change.
those are sold. So when did solds happen? Probably, when were they negotiated?
Right.
So the
Right.
May sales were
Right,
negotiated.
that was
April.
part of the discussion when people asked me when to put my home, what's the best time to put my home on the market? It's
Mhm.
January.
Mhm.
So that I can be ready for February.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those close statistics in April and May.
I
Mhm.
don't think that the Lake Oswego Westland market is really down $100,000 from, I think it might be the homes that sold fit
Mhm.
that price point more. And maybe there are price adjustments that were done or something like, you'd have to see it on a much, like,
Bigger
88
scale.
homes is a pretty big sample size, but it would take a larger one to really say that the
Yeah.
market's decreasing there. I don't see or feel that in any way whatsoever.
Yeah,
Right.
if you look at 151, that's a big jump.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, percentage
Yeah,
wise.
it
Mhm.
supports what we saw in the previous slide about
So
what
that-
Melissa's suggesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Stuff's happening.
Well, I
Okay.
think the main thing is if you can use these slides when you talk to people that didn't buy last year, you can say, well, you've gone backwards. Because prices are statistically up a little bit, rates are roughly what they were. And
Say dummy.
yeah, you could have enjoyed a home, you had the tax benefits, you could have had a $28,000 write-off between property taxes and interest, you would have saved a third of that. You could have taken advantage of our discounts at CFM and Globe Lighting, and done the remodeling, so.
That's good stuff. Okay, go to the next one. This is, that last one was month over month. And so this is year to date through May. So if you're feeling like this year is slower than last year, it's because it is, right? As far as the number of sold properties,
Yeah.
right? And again, we're seeing the average prices and the median prices stay very similar. So really just the number of transactions and sold properties, and as we saw, it's going up in May. So, but we still have a ways to
Yeah.
catch up if we're going to get on pace.
And if I was trying to look in between the numbers here, Lake Oswego Westland, the sort of flatness there is probably due to the fact that the upper end homes are not selling. That's probably the one market that's really been affected is, $2 million and above, $3 million above. That's really been affected. But in Area 151, those homes aren't as common. So you see the increase is a little bit more.
It reflects a terrible first quarter across the
Yeah,
country. It was
true.
basically across
Yeah.
the country. It was certainly in the
Mhm.
Northwest.
Right. And we tell you that just to feel better about yourself. No, but like, just so you know, but kind of, right? Like, okay, it is what it is, but now let's just stay positive, keep going, right? Just because first quarter wasn't, didn't break any records doesn't mean we can't, turn it around and have a good typical selling season.
Well, and I always looked at it when we were in those slow periods, those were the times. You'll find if you're in the business long enough that when you have a slow period like this, it's always followed by a period that's unusually high in demand, because it's like a catch-up thing. And so I always found in the slow periods, that was the time to go out and talk to my clients, get their homes on the market, get the painting done, the carpeting done, everything they needed to do to get ready, so that by the next quarter, I was one of those homes that sold. And so if you didn't do that in January, February, and March, and you're starting today, you're missing the first half of the year for income. Whereas you could have been a May, June statistic if you had started in December, November, December, and January. And that's the way I always approached my year. When it was slower, I was out meeting with my clients, talking to them about what they were going to do next year, convincing them not to come on the market in the summer, to come on the market by February 1, what they needed to do. And I ensured that I had a number of listings available in February going into March that were May and April, May, June sales. So then for the first half of the year, I actually had some money. And guess what happens if you have signs in neighborhoods in the first half of the year?
People seeing.
More signs.
Yeah. That's right. Nowadays, yeah, that's right. You're right. They make all the difference in your business is having signs up, especially sold signs up. So they say, oh my God, it's a home is finally sold in our neighborhood. So, you know, that's the thing about when it's slower is that's when you do the basic activities that make you the money when it's busier.
Yes, good stuff. Any other thoughts on this slide before we go to the next one?
I would just add
Yeah.
that, at least for us, and I don't know if the center being not profit, but we're just seeing so many more cash deals than we are finding. I'd say of our last like 7 closings, 5.
It's interesting.
That is interesting. Sometimes I think our reporting doesn't really show that.
I would think
Out
that
of towners.
it could be people who are not feeling gains in the stock market and they're seeing interest rates and like, I'm just gonna cash out and may not cash out, but I don't know, just.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe just also because people have so much equity in other
Yeah.
properties, just like
Could be
taking
that too,
money
yeah.
out and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
That's interesting,
If
though.
you think longer term, we have low inventory. We've had low inventory for years. So if the rates start to go back down, what do you think will happen to price appreciation? Yeah, I mean, we could see a 20% year
Again.
if the rates next year drop down to 4 3/4, 4 7/8. We could see a 20% year.
Mhm. And we've talked about this before, but like in other parts of the country, they are seeing depreciation, but in the Portland area, there's not enough land. So appreciation has decelerated, but it's still appreciation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're nowhere near the number of houses that we
No.
need to be at new construction. Let's talk about the jobs report that came out on Friday. And this is important because, right, the Fed watches the jobs report pretty closely as to know what's going on with inflation and interest rates and all of that. So on Friday, jobs increased. They actually made 339,000 new jobs in May over April, which was unexpected. It was not expected to increase. And then at that same time, unemployment went from 3.4% in April to 3.7% in May. So if you think about that, that's kind of contradictory.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, counterintuitive, right? Wait. So unemployment went up, but there's also more jobs. So that's why we're kind of in such a weird market, right? We have just a lot of weird things going on with the overall economy that there's not clear precedents for it. Right?
Yeah, and there's been discussion because if you track savings spiked during COVID when they started sending money out to everyone put it in the banks. Now the savings rate is going down. And now suddenly, while there's big job gains, the unemployment rate is going up because more and more of those workers are coming back into the workforce and looking for jobs. And that's how they track that is people that make applications for jobs. It's one of the indicators. And so that's going up. So, I mean, that's a good sign having more people come into the market to work. We've needed it, but it's obviously nowhere near enough. So these are still historic low numbers.
So what do we think that this is going to do for housing?
Well, I mean, if you follow Oregon, multifamily's been built, but not a lot of single family, and single family builders are slowing down. The interest rates, like I got a quote of 9% for construction loan for an interest rate to build
Wow.
a little home on a lot that I own.
Wow.
And I thought, holy cow, 9%.
Mhm.
I mean, between the 2% loan fee and 9%
And-
times a year, it's like,
Not to
oh, they're
mention
not gonna do it.
permit
Well, guess
costs.
what? I mean, a lot of the builders are not doing that either. So the amount of homes being built is going down relative to 3 years ago,
Yeah.
2 and 3 years ago.
The guy who comes in tomorrow is also, he's gonna talk about permit costs and how that's skyrocketed
Yeah.
recently. And how that's
Yes.
driving
What did he say
builders out of the
last
market.
time? I thought he said like on average, the average house is like $90,000 in
Permits.
permits. So that's why it's harder to pencil out affordable housing when no matter what the price
Mhm.
point is about, you're
You're-
gonna have to put that much in permitting. And it all made sense. Like, I mean, that guy Tim is so
He's so
good.
good.
Like,
Yes,
come to
that's-
the CE class tomorrow, but it really explains the why behind why we
Yeah.
don't have.
If you're financing
houses.
permits at 9%, $90,000 and 9%, that's crazy. It's
Mhm.
$8,100 a year in interest on your permit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just keep in mind, I think the main thing is that we have really, really low numbers for housing. Don't be distracted by the number of apartments because that, if you're a homeowner, you're in an apartment, if you're a potential home buyer, you're in an apartment waiting. And if the interest rates go back down, we're gonna see more big numbers on appreciation because there's no inventory. And more people will compete. And Oregon, despite what's happening in downtown Portland, Oregon is still one of the better places to relocate. So there's still money coming in from other states. So we could see in the next 2 or 3 years, pretty good appreciation on your houses again, after being somewhat flat for a couple of years. It's just
Mhm.
supply and demand.
Yep. Awesome. Oh, go ahead.
Well, just a question, so you've seen like when their interest rates were low and COVID was happening, we saw, and I think it also coincided with a release of land into the UGB probably. And is that getting built up? Like, it seems to me like every place where they're doing a lot of big construction, like out on Roy Rogers Road, and I mean, I'm trying to think. of some other
Shoals.
places. So like that is, they're getting really built up. There's not a lot left.
Yeah.
Right? And so when that's filled, we're gonna have the same problem. We're gonna be
Well, I
where we
think
were,
that's
right?
why they did the middle housing,
Because they're filling that up.
because there's a big argument about expanding the urban growth boundary.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, you have fewer people riding TriMet because of the violence. They've got to get, TriMet loses billions of dollars a year
Mhm.
and it's fully funded by taxpayers.
Mhm.
So they've got to build up the infill and they've got to get more people taking advantage of, the Portland businesses and Portland transportation and everything else. So, I don't think there's going to be a big push to expand the urban growth boundary. I just think there's too many forces against it from at least from what I'm reading. Eventually there will be. But they'll find a way to do this inner housing if it's or middle housing. If it's slow, they'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Mhm.
They did the middle housing bill because that was faster than trying to go through the process to expand the earth growth boundary.
Mhm.
That was part of it.
The
Exactly.
Legislature could push that through and they did.
Yeah.
It took 2 years.
Yeah.
It's about 10 to increase the UGB.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we talk about all these other different economic factors right now because it is influencing the inventory, the inflation, interest rates, all of the
Mhm.
different components of consumer confidence. I mean, everything, right? It's all related right now. So I
Well,
think
I'm intrigued to see, I don't want to keep going back to the middle housing thing, but I'm super intrigued to see like economically how it all spills out, right? Because for Dwight's example, like building a fourplex in Lake Oswego is gonna be a lot different than building a fourplex
Mhm.
in Woodburn, right? But I don't know if Woodburn's big enough, Salem, right? It's gonna be completely different, price point, completely different project. So it'd just be really interesting to see how it all kind of pays out. Like, are you gonna pay $800,000 for a 1,100 square foot unit without a garage in Lake Oswego? I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't think so.
I think they will.
You think so? That'd be fun to
Absolutely.
see.
To get into the schools.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and that Tim Young, who's presenting tomorrow, he said like a little teaser of something from middle housing last time he was here, and he was talking about how it's not really working for affordability,
It's
right? It
not-
might be
yeah.
working for like to create the quantity of,
Yeah.
but it's not working for affordability because people are just turning like, okay, turn this $900,000 house, tear it down and build two $600,000 houses, or so that's not really helping with the like
Right.
true
Yeah, it's
affordability
not making it any more affordable.
problem that exists. So I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know.
They can buy $750,000 lot.
Yeah,
That they then can't sell, but they will sell eventually.
right.
Yeah.
I just don't see the flexes making money.
yeah, the money they spend on, I mean, they save some money on siding and wood, right? Because they got a common wall. So it probably offsets the cost of the HVAC and the water heater, I would think, but I don't know.
Remember, a lot of these units are gonna look like what you see in inner southeast, inner northeast, where it's a big
tall,
older
skinny.
home. And there's fourplex in it. You know, they've converted one of the upstairs units, they've converted the basement, they've converted this room and that room, and there's all kinds of different entrances to get in. I've already seen a couple of those being built and they just look like big North Portland or Southeast Portland homes, you know, Eastmoreland kind of homes, and they're fourplexes. And the people don't own them unless they condominiumize the building. They just create rental, they create housing. So,
Yeah, common floor plan I've seen is that, it's like you said, that like you got it looks like a duplex, but there's actually two little studios next to the garage. That's a really common floor plan. I've seen. And yeah,
Awesome. Well, that is all we have for today. Hopefully we'll see you at some of the other classes this week. And hope you all have a great day. It's gonna be 90 out today.
that's right.
Stay cool.
they cool.
Get the suntan lotion on.